What's up, man? It's Davis. This is a rare nighttime uh, recording. You're going to hear a lot of sounds from the kitchen. That's because Leanne is making us a delicious meal at the moment. And I'm going to give you my Fresh Friday. Today, it's something that I was introduced to about a week ago from a friend of mine. And when he introduced this app to me, it's an app. Spoiler alert. Um, I was actually put off by the conceit of it. Essentially, what they do is they take books and they give you basically like a book report of all the key points that you can read in like 15 minutes or less. When I first heard that, I thought, "Wow, that is lazy. That is like taking all the art out of it." I just resented. It was like it felt too like we're moving too fast as a world, a society. This is lending itself right into all the things I'm not a fan of modern culture, technology culture. And then I read one. I read 10% Happier by Dan Harris, and it was really interesting. Um, what I found interesting about it is that self help books often, for me, I find them monotonous. I find them repetitive. I find them, there's too much to read for someone like me who reads really slowly. I have to be very specific about what I read. I love the feeling of reading novels. I don't love the feeling of reading self help books. So when I did that, I was like, oh, I've always wanted to see that book, but I never wanted to buy it and I never wanted to read it. I just wanted to get a gist of it. And sometimes, like I've said this about Charlotte, she's such a good reader, or Leanne, you give them a book and you just be like, hey, report back to me. What do you think this is? What are you getting out of it? So I did that and I piqued my interest. So I got myself a little free trial, 7-day trial. And when I did that, I found out that they only do nonfiction books. So that really was like, I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I would be weirded out if it was, if I was reading Spark Notes. Why would I go read Spark Notes? But it's all specifically nonfiction. It's a company called, as the title probably already gave away, Blinkist. It's a Berlin-based company, and it's basically started because of people like me, probably smarter, better readers than I am, but they were friends and they would send each other notes on different books and they would help each other out in school. And then when they got busy with work and family and stuff, they decided that they were going to keep going and they sort of did this for each other. And now they do it for over 1 million subscribers in this thing, which I was like, wow, that's crazy. Um, so in the past week, I have read several books just to give you a taste of a few of them. And it's weird to say reading several books because you're really just reading summaries of them. But what's interesting about reading each of the summaries is that you end up getting a lot of similar themes across all these different books, which I find really helpful. Leanne and I were in Joshua Tree this week, and when we'd listen to one of these, and then we'd go on a hike. And what it does is because it's so distilled, you just get these concepts, and then we can sort of work out the concepts ourselves. And if we're really interested in the content of the book, I still have the whole book to read if I want to. There's some of these that need a whole book. Some of these I'm like, 10% Happier. I really like Dan Harris. I like listening to his podcast. I don't feel like I need to read the book necessarily. It was really good for me and I enjoyed it. Some of my favorites were Ikigai by Hector Garcia Puigcerver. I'm not sure how to say that, and I butchered it, I know. And Francis Miralles. I'm sorry. The names of those. Forgive me, both of you. That was bad. But they wrote a book called Ikigai, which is about this culture, this community. This word actually in Japanese that basically means like longevity and like purpose of life. And there's this group of people called the Okinawas, I believe. I'm probably fucking on that. Pardon my language. But they are people who've lived till they're 100 years old. Generally, like a lot of them. And it just talked about like all the different ways that they got there. And they're like secrets to life. Growing and eating your own food. Finding something that you find a lot of purpose in, reaching a flow state. Of course, they wouldn't call it that. They just do it. Like this one lady, it works. She makes paintbrushes, and she applies the hairs to the paintbrush, and she's so good at it that she actually enjoys it, and it keeps her young. Exercise, talking to your neighbors, smiling at people, all of these different things that are just like they seem intuitive, but I love to getting like little doses of it. Mindfulness is always a big one. I blinked The Fast Diet, which is about intermittent fasting, which I found fascinating. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, which is a book that Leanne has really enjoyed. And it was really easy and fun for me to just get the gist of it so that we can have a conversation about it. And I might never get to that book, but now I've gotten the gist of it. And even if I go, it'll even deepen the concepts for me because I sort of have the outline. Um, Come As You Are, which is by Emily Nagoski, which is about the modern sexual landscape and like male orgasm addiction and like focusing on the female and what it means to be aroused as opposed to genuinely aroused as opposed to like showing signs of arousal and like those different things. It was really great. Sparked a really great conversation between me and Leanne. A Guide to the Good Life. I wrote by Dan Harris. That's not true. I don't know who wrote that book. I'll look it up. You can look it up. It's about Stoicism and how the Stoic philosophers thought what they thought a good life entailed and how to get to those places, like the sort of practices it takes to get there. One of those key ones that I got was moderation. You know, if you love cookies or wine or whatever it is, practice like intentional I forgot the word, resistance, intentional withholding, I guess, or like you're intentionally not having those things so that when you do have it, you love it. Something that I've thought about a lot in my life already, but it was nice to hear that it's been a concept before. Cold showers, things like that. You're putting yourself through things intentionally so that you can appreciate when you're not having those experiences. I did a 7-day trial. I recommend that, and I just canceled it because I don't want to pay the fee that they sort of loop you into, which is like a full year. But in 7 days, I've gotten, oh wow, there's my hand coming out of my shirt. I've gotten a lot out of it, and now I'm just gonna do the free thing, I think, because I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any books, and this sort of feels like booking to me, like doing that. So I'm gonna do the free trial, which means I can get like a free book every day that's just their suggestion. And they have everything. They have all kinds of stuff in there. They have the Chinese study or the China study. They have How Not to Die. They have the book by Alan Watts. They have so many books that you thought of. Actually, one of the ones that I really want to read because it gave me some good tips, but I think I could go deeper is The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. I liked what I saw. They have like The Artist's Way, but you know that you gotta imagine that there's how it's like what it feels like to read the Artist's Way. It's majorly different, but it's still interesting and it's still cool and it still sparked some really cool thoughts in my head today and yesterday and the past 7. Cool. I hope you enjoy that. Warning: it is on your phone, so you'll be on your phone, when you do it. But it's also for me, it was a perfect way to be intentional. I have 10-minute breaks in my job. I go and I did my little blink, and then I'd be like, okay. It's really cool. Also, all the books, almost all the books have an audio component too. So for me, it's great. I can listen and read, or just listen. Either way. All right, man. Hope you have a great weekend. Love you. Peace.